participating for this webinar today. And last but not least, I heartily extend a very warm welcome and humble namaste to all the participants without whom this webinar wouldn't be possible. So I, I feel obliged to take you through the journey of university. Deemed to be university, an intellectual destination that draws inspired students from more than 38 countries to Silicon Valley, Bengaluru. It is established with the aim to provide quality education and entrepreneurial development. Because of its commitment to learning, research, academia, and entrepreneurial development, National Assessment and Accreditation Council (NAAC) has awarded A grade to Jain deemed to be university with a CGPA of 3.31 on a 4-point scale. A culturally vibrant campus constituting of students from various states contributed to achieve this award, which reinvigorates the culture and the rich academic traditions of the university. And over the years, the university has made conscious and concerted efforts to build on its strengths and consolidate its certified ISO 9001 2015 for quality management by TUV Nord, deemed to be university, is a member of Association of Universities of Asia and the Pacific, Asia and the Pacific, AUAP. Deemed to be university also has been awarded 5 stars in the Young University category in Karnataka by KSURF iCare rating. So now I request our beloved Dean, Dr. Rajni Jaira, to speak few words about the national level webinar that is organized today on gender sensitization.
Very good morning, Dr. Padmini Prasad, the resource person of the day, organizers of the webinar, my learned colleagues, participants pan-India. It has been a journey which is varied and vibrant at Jain deemed to be University. We have been the pioneers of so many programs which are of not only academic influence but also in all area. We have carved for ourselves a vision statement where we believe in the holistic development of student personality. Since the entire environment is participatory in nature, even the employees and various other stakeholders have been a part of the holistic development. And during the trying times of the pandemic, before and even in future, we are the people who would like to navigate through all such issues which are somewhat ransacking the society and more so in trying times. Well, it is heartening to convey to all of you that Jain deemed to be university has practically proved women empowerment by giving job opportunities to women in plenty, as also our student population, the women exceed the numbers with respect to the male counterparts. Coming to gender sensitivity itself, many of us have for varied reasons neglected this particular aspect, maybe due to ignorance, or maybe we thought that it is not a topic which we need to delve with because it is the women who have to deal with gender sensitivity. This is the whole problem or the root cause of why we are ignorant or why we do not want to talk about this topic and why it still remains a taboo in the society. Gender sensitization presides over gender sensitivity. Behavior needs to be modified by raising awareness of gender equality concerns. This can be achieved by conducting sensitization campaigns, training and workshop sessions, awareness sessions, etc. by none other than great people, resource people like Dr. Padmini Prasad. I'm really overwhelmed that in spite of her busy schedule, she's been doing so many programs, maybe of even higher magnitudes for world people also, that is the international crowd. And with her kind of experience and the knowledge which she has and how she can rectify the society in this area, she's already done so many rectification of errors and she would be doing it largely by telling us what exactly gender sensitivity means and how we have to sensitize all strata of society. It's not just the illiterate or the village people or the rustic or those who do not have a knowledge or those who are superstitious, etc., etc. It is for even people like me, because I also need to understand what exactly is gender sensitization, and post that definitely I will think about gender equality, etc. I do not want to take too much of time here because we need to give ample scope for our speaker to express her opinion and navigate us in the right direction so that today's talk of hers will bear fruit in the long run. We are with you, madam, in your campaign, which has been so successful. I have heard so many talks, and I have also been a part of one of the panels where you gave an excellent exposure to all of us in this very regard in our campus at School of Sciences, JC Road. I welcome you to this, and I think this would be enough from my side because I also need to understand deeply and delve with the issue in a better way. Thank you very much for boarding me on this and giving me an opportunity to express my views on whatever little knowledge I have about this topic. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. As always, you have set the right tone for the national level webinar. I now request Dr. Geeta Madhusudan, HOD, Department of Sanskrit, to introduce the speaker of the day.
Thank you, Smita ma'am. Both men and women should feel free to be sensitive. Both men and women should feel free to be strong. It is time that we all perceive gender on a spectrum, not as two opposing sets of ideas. Emma Watson. I deem it my privilege to introduce the esteemed speaker of the day, Dr. Padmini Prasad. She is a consultant, obstetrician, a gynecologist, sexologist, and marriage counselor. She is the first qualified women sexologist from Karnataka. Dr. Padmini Prasad is the medical director, Ramamani Nursing and Maternity Home, Bangalore. She is the only diplomate from Karnataka in the American Board of Sexology. She is the member of World Association of Sexual Health and International Society for Sexual Medicine. She is the director of Institute of Sexual Medicine, Bangalore. She was the secretary and former vice president of Bangalore Society of Obstetrics and Gynecology. She is the president-elect Bangalore Society of Obstetrics and Gynecology. She also served as the vice president of Family Planning Association of India. She is the secretary council of Sex Education and Parenthood International, which is CSEPI. She is a gold medalist in MD, OB, and G. She is a recipient of numerous awards and felicitations like the Rajyotsava Award, Kempegowda Award, Rani Chennamma Award from the government of Karnataka. She is also honored with Golden Lamp Award and Silver Lamp Award. She has authored 11 books on sexual and reproductive health in Kannada and in English. She is regularly featured on television and radio on sexual and reproductive health awareness program. I once again welcome you, ma'am, to address the participants. Thank you.
Thank you for that wonderful introduction. At the outset, I would like to thank the organizers, Jain University, for giving me this wonderful opportunity to be a part of this very beautiful program. I also take it as a great pleasure to be with my young friends this morning. And I would like to thank and congratulate Corona warriors at this juncture. So before starting this topic, I also want to say some disclaimer. I am not a feminist. I am not an activist. I am only a medical professional and giving you the facts, medico-social facts about gender equality and gender sensitization. Exactly 1 week from today, that is 11th July, is World Population Day. And the theme of this year is control of corona pandemic, COVID-19, and protection of women and girls' health and rights. That is the prevention or promotion of sexual and reproductive rights of women and girls, and also prevent gender-based violence. So it is very apt that you have kept this topic, and which is very, very important. What exactly we have to know, or how we can create awareness in this field. I also request all the boys who are attending, men who are attending, not to feel offended. It is only a purely an awareness program. I know that all boys and men, they are cooperating with these girls in the present days and doing all sorts of giving all help, mutual love, affection, and cooperation. So coming to this topic, I will share my video. I will share my PPT presentation. So gender sensitization and gender equality. There is an increasing incidence of heinous crimes of sexual assaults against women. Effective measures can be achieved and accomplished by changing the mindset of society at large. Gender sensitization is the modification of behaviors so that there is greater awareness and empathy to create gender equality. So this gender sensitization and legal awareness programs at school inculcates values of quality, inclusivity, and diversity. It helps to build a healthy society for adolescent boys and girls, ensures balanced development of youngsters. The National Commission for Women was set up as statutory body in January 1992 under NCW Act 1990 to safeguard the constitutional rights of women. The sexual offences include sexual gestures, stalking, ogling, voyeurism, molestation, and rape, in addition to obscene telephone calls, cyber sex, and incest and pedophilia. There is reluctance to discuss anything about sexuality because sex is still a taboo topic in our society. Ours is a culture of silence. We have to break the silence. It is imperative to impart healthy sexuality education to the students of schools and colleges. What we need is age-appropriate, culture-based, and value-based sexuality education with moral and ethical values related to sexuality. We have to inculcate all these values to respect women and educate people about normal and acceptable sexual behavior. Younger population has to be sensitized. The concepts of equality and non-discrimination of our constitution has to be understood. The gender and other gender-related terminology have to be understood first. Before you understand what is sex, what is sexuality, what is gender or gender-based violence, you need to understand so many terms. So understand the concepts of sex, gender, gender roles, gender stereotypes, gender division of labor, gender discrimination, gender-based violence, masculinity, patriarchy, gender equality, and with understanding, we can bring about attitudinal changes towards gender-based violence. Gender and sex are two different concepts. Sex refers to biological differences between male and female. It includes genitalia and genetic differences, XX or XY, and depending on the internal or external genitalia, the sex is determined as a male or female. Hence, it is anatomical and physiological. There are some cases where they do not fit into either a male or a female. That what we call, if there is a disturbance in the development, reproductive or sexual anatomy does not fit the typical definition of female or male, when we call them intersex. So gender, people are born male or female. How you feel yourself inside, whether you feel yourself as a female, whether you feel yourself as a male or a transgender. They learn to be boys or girls and grow into men and women once the sex assignment is done at birth as a boy or a girl. They are taught appropriate behavior, attitude, roles, and activities. This learned behavior is what makes up gender identity and gender roles. Gender refers to learned roles, norms, expectations on the basis of one's sex. It is a socio-cultural definition of a boy or a girl. It also includes norms, values, dress, opportunities, rights, freedom determined by the society. These are taught by family, school, society, and religion. So, sex is biologically determined and it is innate. And gender is a social construct, learned and changeable. The gender roles. So, gender roles are sets of behavior, roles, and responsibilities attributed to women and men that is thought appropriate for them. Hence, they are learned and conditioned. Gender roles vary with culture, society, and historical periods. You know, the role of a woman is in the house, looking after the children, giving birth, pregnancy, childbirth, and looking after the baby, feeding, and looking after family members, sweeping and cooking and things like that. But as you know, the things are changing. The roles, there have been reversal of roles. Women are doing all sorts of work where men were doing. Initially thought that it is a man's field, but the woman is getting into all fields. In the similar way, the men are also taking up so many responsibilities of the family, helping the wife, helping the ladies of the house by doing some kitchen work, cutting away, you can see somebody cutting the vegetables, sweeping and brooming. So the roles will keep changing as per the norms given by the society. So gender stereotypes. What are these gender stereotypes? These are the ideas that people have on masculinity and femininity. What men and women should be like and are capable of doing. So we always say the male stereotype, he is a provider, he is a protector, and he is a procreator. And female stereotypes, motherhood, wifehood, and nurturing, be loving, caring, nurturing, and sympathetic. They are constructed through sayings, songs, media, proverb, religion, culture, custom, education, so on. Boys are always thought to be strong. They should not cry. They should not show any emotion. So these are right from the childhood. These are certain things which are put into the minds of the children. Boys are strong, so don't cry. So like a girl, why are you crying? So girls can cry and can show emotions. So these are automatically inculcated or ingrained in the minds of children. So gender division of labor. The productive tasks are separated on the basis of one's gender. Men and women have multiple work roles. The production, reproduction, household roles, community services, and political activities. So this productive work, what we call, will have some monetary remuneration and economic growth. Reproductive work is set for women and girls taking care of family, household, chores. Allocation of tasks between women and men, girls and boys constitute gender division of labor. It is a central feature of gender inequality both in economic and social aspects. So we also keep on talking about this patriarchy, a patriarchal system. It is a social system where men and boys are considered superior and more powerful than women and girls. Men are seen as heads of households. Biologically, if you take, women are stronger than men. So the girls or even the female fetus is stronger than the male fetus biologically. But it has come that men are superior, men are stronger. Patriarchy is defined as the control of the labor, reproductive power, and sexuality of women for the benefit of men. The system maintains and perpetuates a male-dominated society. They carry on the family name, inherit property, and take decisions. So there is a son preference in the society. You have heard about the sex selection and female feticide, death sentence in utero. So many girls who would have contributed so much to the society have not even been given an opportunity to be born in this society. So they are killed inside the womb itself. So the opportunity is lost. We are losing so many good human beings which could contribute so much to our society. It is a deeply ingrained thought that I must have a son. So girls, it's always the girl is going to be why to water the neighbor's plant. Girl is always had to go to someone else's house, and the son is the one who is responsible for taking care of her or giving us moksha. So this son preference is so deeply rooted in our culture. So this has to change, this son preference in the society. Our society is changing now. Women are breaking barriers, becoming scientists, fighter pilots, athletes, and entrepreneurs, and even politicians. Patriarchy is unjust social system that subordinates, discriminates, or is oppressive to women. We need to change this patriarchal mindsets and ensure that both boys and girls have equal access to opportunities, decision making, and freedom. So we have to sensitize boys at an early age, right from the childhood. If you inculcate the feeling, both girls and boys are same, they should be having mutual love, affection, and respect for each other, and cooperate with each other right from the childhood. If these values are inculcated when they grow up through the adolescent and the adulthood, so this whatever the values they have learned during childhood is the one which remains throughout their life. So this present day generation, right from this, that deep-seated or deep-rooted melodies, it is difficult to root out sometimes, but still the present generation can definitely be given awareness and see that there is a change in the mindset. This masculinity, concept of masculinity, it is a set of social and cultural practices associated with being a man. It is also called manhood or manliness, which are a set of attributes, behaviors, roles associated with boys. The traits include strength, courage, independence, leadership, assertiveness, suppression of emotion. It is socially constructed. So you can see all these characters can be there with the girls also. Given an opportunity, given a chance, they can show their strength, they can show their courage, independence, leadership. All these things can be there in the girl. So only based on these characters, we cannot say that is only a boy's character. A real man is physically strong and aggressive. Usually we see in movies, angry young man, daring, angry young man. So the projection of the boys and a strong man, a strong boy is through certain cultural explanations. Boy looking girly. So many times friends will be teasing the boys if they are very kind, helpful, and then if there is little change in the voice or little smooth skinned, so all these things, so they start teasing that boy, you are looking so girly. So these are the things which we have created. So for a girl, if she shows some strength and goes out and shows some leadership, so she has got all the boys' characters, boyish. So these are boy and girl characters. It is we, the society, who have made it like that or defined it like that. So coming to violence against girls and women, what is it? So you should always preserve safety and rights of women. So our Prime Minister always telling Beti Padhao, Beti Bachao. In addition to that, we should also think of Beta Samjhao. So Beti Padhao, Beti Bachao and Beta Samjhao. So all the three things will go a long way in having gender equality. Violence means striking someone physically and causing injury, a physical violence. Cause verbal abuse or psychological stress causing injury to mind and harm reputation. That becomes a mental abuse. And then the sexual violence leading to sexual abuse. The gender-based violence is a phenomenon deeply rooted in the gender inequality and is one of the most notable human rights violations. So gender-based violence is a violence directed against persons because of their gender. Both women and men experience violence, but the majority of victims are women and girls. Most gender-based violence is inflicted on women and girls by men. So at the end, I am also telling you about the third gender and the violence against them. So the types of violence, if you take the criminal violence, like rape, murder, kidnapping, dowry death, the domestic violence, so sexual abuse, wife battering, maltreatment at home, the social violence, like eve teasing, forcing for female feticide, and also forcing for sati and things like that. So the violence against girls and women is a global problem. It is not that it is only seen in our country. It is a global problem. It occurs in all countries and societies and is associated with deep inequalities between women and men. The different forms of violence through the life cycle of women, if you take, so there can be gender-based sex selection and the abortions, causing the abortion of the female fetus, neglect of girl child once she is born. Either she is given death sentence inside the utero, or once she is born, there are so many infanticide where girl babies are killed by so many ways. And then the neglect of girl child, forced early marriages, sexual abuse, dowry violence, trafficking, discrimination against widows. Sexual harassment in public places, streets, bus stops, schools, transport, etc. The threat of cyber crimes and cyberbullying is ever increasing. So many girls are becoming victims to that. Other places of violence, if you take, it is inside the home. You can consider about this incest, where the sexual abuse is done by the close blood relatives. Community, educational institutions, and workplaces where there is workplace harassment. Coming to this violence against children, that is also increasing so much. It can be physical violence, sexual violence, emotional violence, neglect, and deprivation. Violence in home, school, community, and through internet. The children are lured into these things, and then there can be child sex abuse, and the pedophiles who are there in the society are the ones who can inflict injury and cause sexual abuse for the younger children. Children have right to protection from violence. Violence can cause harm to children, reduce self-worth, and hinder their development. The POCSO Act is a powerful act, that is the Protection of Children from Sexual Offences Act 2012 was formed to protect children from offences of sexual abuse, sexual harassment, and pornography, and to provide a child-friendly system for the trial of these offences. Any person below the age of 18 years is called a child according to POCSO Act. So it provides protection to all children below 18 years from sexual abuse. We have child helplines, child protection centers, and this POCSO Act. The crime on children can be sexual crimes like penetrative sex, non-penetrative sex, pornography, kidnapping, abduction of children, rape, child marriages are very common. Adolescent girls experience physical, sexual, and emotional violence from the husband or partner. So now coming to the gender equality, after knowing what are the meanings of so many different terminologies which we are using. So gender equality is beneficial to both women and men. This is a commitment to equal human rights for all. Gender equality means that the access to opportunities and life changes is not dependent on or constrained by the gender. It is achieved when women and men enjoy the same rights and opportunities across all sectors of society, including economic growth, decision-making behaviors, aspirations and needs of both men and women are equally valued. The Sustainable Development Goals of United Nations, that is known as SDG 5, stands for gender equality and empowering all women and girls, ending all forms of discrimination against them, irrespective of age, marital status, sexual orientation, ethnic origin, the country of origin, or any place, anywhere, all age groups. So they have to have gender equality. Same sexual reproductive rights are given. Equal access to education, decent work, political participation, decision-making process should be ensured to both. To achieve equality, we need to change the regressive social norms, access to family assets, property, bank accounts. So many rules and acts have come in this direction from the government, from both state and central government, and many NGOs are doing so much of work. So take part in sports and public activities. So allow both the children, whether boys or girls, to take part. It is, you cannot differentiate. This is only, this sport is, we have seen our ladies who have made names in the international levels. So the games which only men were playing. So in those sports also, how our women are excelling themselves. The mindsets that women are thought to be inferior and secondary citizen should change first. Asserting. Women should learn to assert themselves to claim their rights. The socio-cultural practices like dowry, dowry harassment, dowry bride burning, sex selection for girls, dress codes, etc. to be changed. Right to work and earn for a living should be made a compulsory thing. So we have to sensitize younger generation, law enforcing agencies and politicians in this direction. Educate and teach women of all ages how to be safe. This is also most important. Our girls and the women should not wait for somebody to help them. So they should know how to, they can help themselves, how they can be strong, how they can fight the inequalities and the violence against them. So they should learn right from the childhood how to recognize a sexual abuse, what is good touch, what is bad touch. Even from a small child, when the mother is bathing the child, keeping the child on the lap or telling the stories, should start telling about these things, what is good touch, what is bad touch, how the child has to cover certain parts which are sensitive parts, not exposed to others, and how the child should avoid others to touch indecently or in an uncomfortable manner. What is comfortable touch, what is uncomfortable touch. Right from the house or the right from the own family, it should start the sexuality education. Then it should continue in the schools and colleges. So these are the things which go a long way in understanding things, making both the girls and the boys stronger. The role of self-defenses, martial arts are very important. So girls should learn right from the beginning how they can defend themselves, how they can fight the injustice. They always carry some pepper spray or chili powder, carry a small knife. It should always be there in the vanity bag or the bags which the girls carry. And also a whistle, so that if they are in trouble, they can call the attention, see that the attention is diverted from other people. About 53% of children have faced one or more forms of such abuses. If there is a sexual abuse, because anybody can be a potential candidate, the immaterial, right from a small child up to the old age, the sexual abuse is happening. So every child, every girl, every adult should have an awareness about sexual abuse and what to do by any chance, by any bad luck, if such a thing happens, how they have to take care of themselves, how they can, because so many times in their families, they used to give, why only I should have restrictions, because so many girls will be wondering, why the boys are not having any restriction to go out at any time and come back. Only the girls, they are giving restrictions. So don't go alone, don't go in dark places, always be with the friends and always be where there is a crowd, where there are people. So protect this is only to prevent any such unwanted or unwanted events to happen. So if there is a sexual abuse, so how report, resist, recognize. First they have to recognize the sexual abuse, then resist from that place, and also report to the proper person, either to the parents, to the police, or somebody, some elders. Report the matter to parents, teachers, or police, or an NGO. Do not wash any clothes, undergarments, watch, purse, or any belongings till they are examined. Do not wash any of your body, particularly genitals, needed for evidence. Because I have seen so many girls who have undergone sexual abuse. Because of the fear, they immediately go and change the dress, take bath, and behave as though nothing has happened. But all the symptoms of the stress disorder will start appearing at a later date. The sexual harassment is defined as unwelcome or unwanted sexual behavior that impedes a person's right to study, learn, work, or perform their various activities. So this is especially we are seeing in rural areas where the girls, they have to travel a long distance, they have become the subjects for this unwanted sexual behavior and sexual harassment. Because of that, they may have to discontinue the education, they may not be able to perform their duties or reach the goals. So this is very important. The unwelcome advances leaves a person scarred, embarrassed, trapped, and confused. When you come to rape, which is a heinous crime, it is the forcible sexual relationship with a person against the will, without consent, and creating a fear. It can be due to various reasons, just to show the power, anger, or take revenge, or just an opportunity for some perverted men. The sexual harassment at workplace is a legal term defined as unwelcome sexual advances, requests for sexual favors, and other verbal or physical conduct of sexual nature. So showing some interest and favors, telling that they will give promotion, they will give work, and unless you help me in the sexual, help me in the bed, I am not going to give you any advantage in this. So there are so many sexual harassment committees where they look into the sexual harassment cases so that they can decide and the person can be punished. The government of India is implementing various schemes to overcome gender disparity and provide equal status to women in the country. Though the mindset is slowly changing with urbanization and education, still there is a long way to go for a permanent change in this scenario. So talking about this, because the youngsters would like to know what is this third gender and what are these LGBTQ and what we should know about them. It is just the basics I'm just touching upon. So nowadays you all have seen they are also as recognized, and it is any violence against them is taken as a human right violation. So they are also recognized in all sectors, in the government jobs and the private jobs and the educational institutions. There are so many people who are extremely talented, who are excelled in various fields in this gender. So either a male, female, or a third gender. So what, as I defined earlier, sex is biological, anatomical and physiological. So the gender identity, which is a sense of being a male or a female or a transgender, irrespective of what is your natal sex, what is the sex assignment done at birth as a boy or girl looking at the external genitalia. So irrespective of that, if you are, though you are declared as a man, so internally you may be feeling that you are a female. In a similar way, though the person is born as a female, internally they may be having the feeling that it is either a female trapped in a male's body or male trapped in a female's body. And coming to the sexual orientation, the sexual orientation is defined as romantic, emotional, sexual attraction to a particular sex, either man, woman, or both. It can be man to woman, or woman to woman. So if it is from the opposite sex, we call it as heterosexual orientation, which we see the majority in the society. And if it is same sex, man to man or woman to woman, we call it as homosexual or lesbian attraction or the sexual orientation. So it is there. It is not that they have they want it or wantingly they have done it. It is an involuntary thing. They are made like that. They are born like that due to various scientific or medical reasons. So it is not their fault that they want this orientation or they want this internal feeling as though they are feeling different as compared to what is the assigned sex. So the transgender person identifies with opposite sex compared to natal sex. That's what I was explaining. So man feels that he is a female, though he is having the genital organs, internal and external genitalia of a man. So these transsexuals, what are these transsexuals? The person who is a transgender wishes sex reassignment, that is a sex change, to be done either by medical treatment or surgical treatment. So at some point of time, they will have so much of pressure inside that they think they are become so uncomfortable with their body, they think they have to change to the opposite sex. So they become transsexuals. So they can be trans men or trans women. So trans men, it is F to M or female to male. So a female is completely converted to male, or a male is completely converted to female. You see so many hitchers or so many of these trans women in the society or on the road. The transvestism is something different. Transvestism, it is only a cross-dresser or cross-dressing for the sake of sexual gratification. We can't call it as if if a boy wears some jewelry on the ear or wears some the chain or necklace, or the hairstyle is different of that of a woman, we cannot call it as transvestite. And even a lady or a girl who wears pants and shirts or who is having a short haircut, we just cannot call it as transvestite. So transvestite is a particular paraphilia, altered sexuality, where the person cross-dresses for the sake of sexual gratification. This gender reassignment, it is a process of changing the way someone's gender is lived publicly. That is, the person changes to desired sex. This gender dysphoria, or in the medical terms, gender identity disorders, It is a discrepancy between the gender identity, gender role, gender expression, and the natal sex. They can be transgenders or transsexuals. So LGBT is the common term. Many of you will be seeing or reading. Lesbian, gay, bisexual, or transgender, and Q, some queer also is added to that. So it describes people's sexual orientation and gender identity. And there is a word what is known as coming out. These LGBT people, they decide at some point of time, because it is very difficult, still it is a new concept, and it is very difficult for the family to accept, or the others, to the society to accept these people. So even then, when they have got favorable, at some point of time, when there is so much of pressure from inside, they decide to come out and share with others. And that is what is known as coming out. So that is announcing to the society or to the friends or to the family. The homophobia is the one which we see in the society. This is the fear or prejudice and discrimination against LGBT and subjecting them for the various types of violence. The gonadal dysgenesis is purely a medical condition where there is intersex because of the congenital developmental disorders of reproductive system, which leads to intersex. Sometimes, so many times it has happened, a child which is assigned as a boy at birth, because of some ambiguous genitalia, at a later date, when it grows, knows that I am not a boy, I think I am a girl. So most of the time it comes to light at the time of puberty. So you must have read so many incidences, and you have read so many cases in newspapers and media. So this is the reason. A wrong sex assignment at the time of birth can lead to this problem. So we also had the Shivappa, who was assigned as a boy, now has turned out to be Shivamma, not a boy. It's a girl. Started menstruating and started developing all secondary sexual characters of a female. So a proper sexual reassignment has to be made at the time of puberty. So there is also an act, Transgender Protection Act 2019, which prohibits, discriminates against transgenders. So creating a welcoming environment for transgenders, it should be an inclusive environment. Adding transgender option in forums, language should be inclusive, treated with dignity and respect. Confidentiality is maintained. There should be non-discriminatory policy. A training of the staff to increase their knowledge and sensitivity towards transgenders. Build a world free of shame, secrecy, and unwanted genital surgeries. So now you have understood so many things and so many terminologies, and if there is some amount of awareness created, we will be very happy. And I thank the organizers, Jain University, for giving me an opportunity for such a wonderful program. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. As we can see in the chat box, we are receiving amazing feedback for your session. Now I open the forum for any questions. There are few questions which are already posted. One of the question in the beginning is, can sex education for adolescents backfire sometimes and in turn promote safe sex?
We cannot see society is changing. Usually that is what many people, when they oppose sexuality education, they think that sexuality education is about educating them about the intercourse or how the baby is born. So that is a very wrong notion. Sexuality education is something different. A sexuality is there right from birth to death, right from the time a gender assignment is done at the time of birth, and their growth through boys, through the childhood, adulthood, puberty, sexual attraction, marriage, man-woman relationship, pregnancy, childbirth, and menopause. These are all various stages of various dimensions of sexuality. So it only gives them protection, a increased knowledge. They don't take risks. They form an informed decision, avoid taking risks, avoid misusing the other gender. So that is the way we say that age appropriate, value based sexuality education. It doesn't lead to promiscuity. That's what many people think. No, they know how to protect themselves from an unwanted sexual encounters, high risk sexual behavior, unwanted pregnancies, sexually transmitted diseases, HIV, AIDS, and things like that. So, all over the world, they have conducted studies on youngsters. A proper healthy sexuality education will they give them more knowledge and support and right how they can show some responsible behavior in the society.
Okay, I think the comment that you made, that age appropriate value based sexual education, I think that's a most valid point that we can think about.
Yeah.
There is one question which a participant is asking: sex education at what age? Dr. Sudhir Kumar has posted a question. What would be the right age, appropriate age for this?
That's a very good question. The sexuality education starts right from the home. Mother is the first educator. So mother is, I was just mentioning that, right from the childhood, and don't create any bias. Don't, even if they, because when the child is growing and exploring its own body, sometimes it will be handling its genitalia. So usually what is the elder's reaction? Shame, shame, puppy shame. Either you beat the child or scold the child, and you start creating negative attitude right from that age. So the child thinks, no, no, this is something which I should not touch, which I should not talk about, which I should not tell anybody. This is a thing which I should avoid. So even this, we don't even use a proper terminology for the genitalia. So that is also not. You teach everything right from the eyes, ears, nose, and hands, feet, and after the umbilicus, you suddenly jump to the feet. So that is how we create proper terminology and proper awareness even for the child. And also this mutual love, affection, and cooperation between boys and girls. Right from that child, you start telling you should not misuse, you should not hurt the child. All these things can be taught at home. And then in the schools and colleges, the right age, proper age for sexuality education is before the child enters the puberty. That is around 9 to 10 years of age. Before it enters puberty, how all the changes, physical, mental, emotional, and sexual changes which occur in the body, once there is a proper knowledge, child is well prepared for that. It can go through this adolescent puberty in a healthy manner. Otherwise, I have seen so many schools, high schools, and college boys and girls having so many questions and tensions. They can't even take their exams. They are doing so badly at exams and they cannot read, concentrate. And boys are so scared about the nocturnal emission and the growth, their hair growth on the face, or the body growth, whether I am okay, whether I am not all right. So because they only discuss with friends and there is nobody to give proper answer to that. The curiosity is high. So we should explain to them, even whether it's a girl or a boy. At least for the girl, the mother may say how to handle once she starts the periods, how she can handle it, or even the teachers may teach them. But the boys, most of the time, they don't get any proper education. Even from the medical professional, doctor parents or educated parents, they are not getting the education. So the awareness before they enter into puberty goes a long way in giving a proper healthy mind to the child. And how they can come, because at the adolescent, it is the because of the hormonal development and the genital development, there is inevitably the mind is full of sexual feelings, thoughts, attractions. So they don't know how to control that. So they need one proper direction. What is right, what is wrong. So then they can control their emotions and concentrate on other priorities in their life, so that They can only when it is the right time for their marriage or right time to start the sexual relationship, they start.
Thank you, ma'am, for that very, very valuable input. Most of us, I'm sure, are parents here with young children or adolescents. And I think your inputs will make a great sense for all of us to do the right parenting for our children, along with noticing and observing adolescent young children at colleges and universities. But there is another question. How feasible can the plan of inclusivity of genders be in the real world?
Yeah, slowly the awareness is being created and people are becoming comfortable about these things. And so many laws have come up and there are so many rights and protections have come up. Slowly, it may take little time, but already we have come a long way in this direction. But that has to be in all schools, colleges, at home, and in the society. The awareness should be created. See, this is such a program. It's really a wonderful program which you have arranged for children, because they themselves will be having curiosity and they want to know what it is and all that. So once they know it is, they just accept them as a matter of fact. Even one friend, if my friend is like that, his sexual orientation is different, okay, he is made like that, then I should not have any bias about that. So that is how that should be the attitude of children.
Okay. Ma'am, there's a lot of appreciation pouring in the chat box for your wonderful enlightening session. There's a comment by Dr. Anil Kumar. He says, gender sensitization has not been supporting for a long time, as I observed in the society, but exceptions are there. In many cases, women were responsible for this evil. In such conditions, how this can be removed from society? That's the question he has posed.
Pardon me, the last sentence, bias against.
No, he says, in many cases, women were responsible for this evil.
Yeah.
And how can this be removed from society?
Yes, both sides. It is important. So that's why I told in majority, it is the women who are abused. But it is not that men are not abused. There are so many boys who are abused, so many men who are abused, and even there are the women bosses who have abused men. So all these instances are there. So that's why gender equality means it is two-way. Both sides it has to be there. But all these so many years the women were suppressed, and now they are taking charge of their life and they are coming up in all fields. And women is running fast. But the problem is man is not been able to keep pace with that women's growth and development. So that may be causing some problem or pressure on the men also. So even so many of the cases who come for counseling, even for the after marriage, because of that, there will be the main thing which is needed is understanding and cooperation and a good interpersonal relationship. That's what is important. Not that the incidents may be less, but still the women can abuse men. I don't say no. Yes.
Okay. And to add to your input, ma'am, I think a mother in every home plays a very, very important role in bringing up the child. And as parents, both man and woman are responsible for their own behaviors with each other and as well as individuals, because children, they pick up behaviors from their parents. I think we have a huge role to play in being responsible parents and responsible mothers and fathers.
Definitely. Because
Yeah.
that, see, there are some verbal and non-verbal communication which is being given to the child. Our everyday, day-to-day activities, the relationship between father and mother, relationship between mother, the brothers and sisters, and how we interact and how we spend quality time in the family. All that will be just going into the minds of the children. So a broken home, alcoholic father, or the abusive father, if the child sees only the father all the time beating the mother and then coming drunk and all that, that child also thinks, oh, I should behave like that. I have a control on my wife. So these are the things, whether you want it or not, that goes into the mind of the child. So the environment, both the roles of the father's role also is very important,
Yes.
especially for the boys. At the
Yes.
time, how they can give guidance. And if the father is smoking and asking the son not to smoke, then that may not work.
Yes.
So you have to become living examples for the children. So the
Absolutely.
creating a healthy environment in the family is extremely important.
Right. Absolutely, very well said, ma'am. Very valid point. The language that parents speak and the way they live becomes the inner voice for their children, and we have to be very conscious and to make corrections at a later point of time, at a later age, will be very difficult. When they are malleable, when the lot can be done to children, that is when we need to really put in conscious efforts. There is also a comment by Dhananjaya. He says, ma'am, nowadays most of adults are attracting towards girls, modern dressing sense. They will say we love each other in the meanwhile, they are getting separated over a period of time. Please explain about this. Is this real love or just affection? Because you told about girls' dressing style has to change. So
No,
that's
see, the societal attitude towards the dress code and other things. I did not say ladies' dresses should change. I told because it is immaterial. Because as long as you have a control on your mind, then you don't misuse the whether the girl is dressed stylishly or in traditional attire or whatever it is. Because whenever in all the instances of rape, what we usually, that is one thing they say, because you did not dress well and you were in a very provocative dress, so you invited trouble. So that is a wrong notion. Any dress, any age, any type of beauty, or even mentally retarded, young age, old age, traditional dresses, modern dresses. So all the rape can happen to anybody. So it doesn't mean that only because you are wearing some provocative dress or anything, you are responsible. So that is a very usual or bad comment which is made on the girl. So that should not, that I told that we had to change that attitude, societal attitude. So it is, see, it is your own, and if you keep seeing that, then if you are friends, if you are dressing in a very different way, anything like that, you accept the person as he is or as it is. But only thing is there are certain cultural norms or the societal. So you usually we say let it not be an inappropriate dress for anything. So that is all what we say, that we don't impose that they have to have this only and that. So their dress sense, everything is changing for the woman. So I have got the control, the right over my body. I can do whatever I want. But still, there are certain societal norms, restrictions. If we follow that, probably it will be good.
Ma'am, there's another comment in the chat box. Bhavna Sundar says, ma'am, one thing in the LGBT which I would like to add is asexuals, people who don't feel any sexual attraction to others.
Yeah, that is also one category which is being added. So they're like heterosexual, homosexual, there are also asexual. By any means, they are not attracted to anybody. No sexual attraction. Very small percentage they have studied and few cases have been reported. Yes.
Many inputs and comments are very highly appreciative about your outstanding presentation, ma'am. And Mr. Sudhir Kumar also asked a question: why transgenders don't have sexual counseling? Dr. Sudhir Kumar's question: why don't they have sexual counseling?
So there is for transgenders that it is a medical condition when they come for a sex change operation, and we do counsel. They have to go through a psychiatric counseling for 2 years before they go in for a sex change operation or any surgical method. So only when we can be very sure that he is really a transgender or there is a gender identity disorder, then only once it is confirmed, we even see that that person lives in the desired sex for some time in the opposite dressing, whether it may be dressing or attitude or behavior or the mingling with the persons. So all these things, that is only real life journey, we call it. Then they we put them on hormone treatment to see the opposite. Or for a female, we put them on male hormones. For the male, we put them on female hormones. That will cause so many changes in the body towards feminization or masculinization. Only as a last thing, by repeated counseling, because surgery is an irreversible thing. Once you get into that surgery and then change, there is no way of coming back or looking back. So after all these procedures, only surgery is done, sex change operation. So a lot of counseling goes through that in that procedure.
Ma'am, there's a comment in the chat box by V. Rangarajan. He says, in my perspective, both male and female are responsible to grow up in family and also to develop children. But in many of the families, the same thing is missing because of employment status and other distinctive factors. How to sensitize it, please?
Sensitize towards having children, is it?
When they are forced to live separately because of employment reason or status reason or few others reason. I think this also includes parents being separated, if I'm not wrong. Also, there are few more questions saying why separations are more in the present scenario, even though both genders are well educated. Is it an ego clash?
Yes.
Basically, in such situations where family parents have to live separately, how do we sensitize children, and how do we develop for their holistic growth? I think Mr. Rangarajan also wanted to ask the same thing. When parents are living separately or for employment reasons, for any other reasons, how do we help children grow in a holistic way? How do we sensitize?
Yes, so you see, if both parents are working, for the children, definitely sometimes there can be problems. But whatever it is, even the parents are working, so make some arrangement where at least some elder, somebody. Nowadays, because of the crumbling of joint family systems, we only nuclear families. So we don't have people also to keep an eye on the children or look after them. So that is the reason why we need the proper education and guidance for the present day children also. Whatever it is, even if the parents go out and then go for work, both mother and the father, when they come back, they have to have some family time, a quality time for children, and also make it a proper time and also a good communication. So right from the childhood, if you see that the children communicate well, everything, whether it is a good thing or bad thing, you sit in at least at the time of dinner, sit together, ask your child what all things you did right from the morning till night, and make it a habit for the child to tell everything to the parent. So all good and bad things, the child will openly communicate to this. So create an environment, whatever little time you have, make it a quality time at least. And nowadays parents are struggling so much. So when they have children, at least to adjust their timings and come back home. And now, of course, during COVID time, there is so reinventing relationship and spending time with the family. So many people have got good time now to spend with their family also with the lockdowns and other things. But still, so the main thing is keep the communication open, give quality time, and any problem for the child, you see that you attend to see if there is any change in the behavior, there is smoking, drinking, stealing money, or abnormal behavior, becoming aggressive, bedwetting. All these things show that there is some disturbance for the child. So that has to be looked at.
Okay. Ma'am, will your inputs hold good in case of separated parents also? Because that is what also is mostly seen.
Becomes difficult for single parents, but still it is we always want the ideal situation, but sometimes we may not be able to have that ideal situation. But still many single parents, single mother or the father, they're struggling, and to see that the child comes out, but they have a lot of behavioral problems and psychological problems with the single parents. So for the balanced development we need, but at least if somebody compensates for that, whether it is a mother figure or a father figure, whoever who can look after the child, that also can compensate to a certain extent.
Mhm. Shrinu, Mr. Shrinu says, first of all, we have to change our thinking ability. And there's a question about, ma'am, you are speaking about gender separation, but there is no real-time education and awareness in the society. So that's another comment which is posted by Mr. Ravindra Singh Kuntal.
It should come into the textbooks and the teaching and education. So slowly it should enter, because now all the thinking and also the viewpoint and the societal at all that, when it is enters the syllabus, schools and colleges. So like a matter of fact, they start accepting that. So now the beginning has been made with the Supreme Court verdict and then the recognition of this LGBT and all that. Slowly, I think it will come up. You are all educationists, you all can do something to create awareness in children.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think we have to do more proactive awareness campaigns, and we have to start inculcating practices right from our homes. Whatever we learn today or whatever we know which is good for our children, practicing it will make a great sense, and more awareness campaigns like ma'am suggested as educationist will make a huge difference for adolescents and young children. Ma'am, this is something which I have also been reading, that during these challenging times, so-called new normal, domestic violence, harassment cases have shot up. I heard that in last 10 years it is at the peak high during these times. Also, there is a question posed by Pradeepa, why few men are involving in abusing children. Yesterday also 7-year-old girl child was raped and killed in my neighboring place. Are these men really cruel in mind and psycho? How to identify such kind of people, abusers? Parents to counsel, how do parents counsel such men or male is the question. Basically, I think the question is, how do we identify such abusers?
It's very difficult to identify. They look like any other normal person on the street. So by looking at the person, you can't say he is a pedophile or who is a child molester or anything like that. And it is that is one category. So pedophile, they have a sexual attraction for the children and misusing the children, sexually abusing the child. It can be penetrative, non-penetrative sex, or utilizing the children for pornography. All this comes under child sexual abuse only. So, but there are majority of these things when it happens for number one, for an opportunity to take revenge, and also some perverted minds. Society, we also have some perverted people who have sexual perverts or some criminal mindedness. So it is very difficult to say why exactly it was done. So many times, if there is some family enmity and anything, some children are molested and they are killed, abducted and killed. Or if the child, so once they are abused, they are scared that the child may reveal the name, because most of the time the child abuses will be happening by a known person only. So known person, they who come to that, they will be very close contact, friends, relatives, and it can be in some big some of the families, when there are big families, the child is molested, the girl sometimes right from the eye. So many patients who really have some problems at a later age after marriage, in their sexual relationship, where they're abused as child by the uncles, cousins, and things like that, and they were suppressed. And if you disclose it, I will do this, that, I will kill you and all that. So the child will never reveal it even to the parents. It will be silently suffering. So the main thing is creating awareness, a healthy sexuality education, and to recognize sexual abuse and report it to the elders. So this is how right from the childhood the mindset has to be changed.
I think empowering and educating very young children, like 6 years, 7 years, is challenging, but nevertheless not
Only
impossible.
simple child only, ask the child, we call it a bitter chocolate. I don't accept any chocolates or the gifts from the strangers. Don't go with
Right.
any stranger. And if somebody touches you uncomfortably, come and tell us. Don't go.
Right.
There was one child, and the mother was complaining. She doesn't want to talk to anybody. When our close family friend comes, I asked her, go and hug the uncle. And she says, no, she created such a scene in their house. Then I said, see, the child later revealed, I don't like the way he touched me or the way he handles me. So there is a point. The mother is unable to understand. We have to teach the parents also. Because
Right.
parents also should be aware of what is happening. Because most of the time they themselves do not know what is happening or what to tell their children. So creating awareness for the parents also is very important.
Right. I think not ruling out what the child speaks, respect for the child, and trust in the child's communication has to be established right
Most of
from
the,
there.
yes, sorry. Most of the times the child will be telling the truth. You should understand what it is
Right.
telling. So another small child had come. The father told me I had written a cover page article on child sex abuse. After reading that, one person came and told me, every day I used to leave my child with a neighbor opposite side, and they used to look after the child so well. And then when I was giving bath to the child, the child told me, Doctor, uncle is so nice. He touches me here, touches me there, and he touches my private parts and all that. I did not understand what the child was talking. After reading your article, I understood what it is, he said. So there has to be awareness that such a thing is happening with the children also.
Right.
Yes.
It's a huge responsibility on the part of educationists as well as parents to do our best for our children so that they can be really contributing for the society, and we can avoid things that can be avoided by creating awareness. And Dr. Anil Kumar has posted a comment, ma'am. An important topic is left: problems of adolescents and their solutions due to lack of time, as it should be discussed in the present scenario in details. Please take it up in future.
That itself is a big chapter, adolescent education and adolescent behavior. I was only just touching on gender sensitization and what they have to know about that. So
It's a
that
huge
is it.
workshop for a long period of time, actually. But I think all topics, related topics, can go on for 10 days or so intensive workshop.
Start giving the lecture, I can give for another 2-3 hours.
Right.
Big chapter. Yes.
Arifa Hira says, when the world will stop judging others and get awareness for they are who they are, and there is nothing wrong in it. We can all find true sense to understand each other. Then there is a comment by Ravinder Singh. Frankly speaking, ma'am, nowadays divorce rate is very high. What is actually problem? It's confusing and depressing thing.
There are varieties of reasons for that increasing incidence of divorce. Today they'll get married and tomorrow only they start telling we are incompatible. The tolerance that right from the childhood they should also be taught the persons are different. They are from different backgrounds and different attitudes, feelings, and the desires, likes they have. We should accept the person as it is and no ego clashes in between. So egoistic and then non-cooperative, and that is number one. There are also reasons, other reasons. Sometimes the behavioral problems of the partner, the psychiatric problems, and the sexual problems, which are there, non-consummated marriages and male sexual dysfunction or female sexual dysfunction, non-cooperation. That is also a huge problem, which will not come to light. They think it is some other reason that they are separating, but I see quite a few cases of sexual incompatibility as one of the reasons for the divorce cases. And the alcoholics, chronic diseases, and there's some economic problems, and there are so many reasons for this. So ultimately, it boils down to disturbed interpersonal relationship, quarreling, and then ending up with the divorce.
Arijit, we are running out of time. Ma'am, can we take up a few more comments which are there, or 2-3 comments, and then wind up, or how do we suggest, ma'am, or whatever you suggest? Can we complete?
Another 2 questions you can take.
Okay, okay. Whom do women end up networking if they are not easily accepted in the male-dominated elite circles, since it's India? So
there are so many NGOs, Women's Helpline, Vanita Sahai Vani. So they can contact in the police commissioner's office. There is Vanita Sahai Vani. I'm also a consultant to that. So there are helplines available, and there are short stay homes. I see so many times women are battered, are sent out of their home in the midnight, and they don't know where to go. Some pregnant or abused mothers. So there are also so many people who are doing very good work, giving protection to them, short stay homes. And if they contact Vanita Sahayvani, so they will guide. They will, so many times they give free legal aid also. So they should know. They should keep some the phone numbers, telephone numbers, helpline numbers. If they are in trouble, they can definitely contact.
I think Gokila Ramesh, your question is answered earlier. For kids' betterment, when separated couple can have an elderly person at home or someone who can substitute for a separated person. Generally, elderly person at a home, I think, will help a lot in raising the kids, especially for separated couples. Um, the Pradeepa, ma'am, there is another question. I think this is in YouTube, if I'm not wrong, Arun sir. He says case study could have enhanced the talk. I think ma'am has been mentioning a lot of case studies already. Mr. Shrino also says, could you please tell me the PC and PNDT Act?
So that is because I was mentioning about female feticide. So the sex selection, that is a very powerful act where the scanning is done purely for the sake of knowing what is the sex of the baby, whether it is a boy or a girl, because that is a trend because of the son's preference, and they do not want to have the girl babies. So the mother is forced to undergo abortion if it is a girl baby. So that strictly it is punishable offense, and anybody who does the scanning or anybody who motivates the mother to undergo the abortion, sex selection abortion, so that is preconception, the Prenatal Diagnostic Test Act. So under that, any form of sex selection, whether it is scanning or through the detection of the sex by seeing the studying the cells, fetal cells, or any biopsy or amniocentesis, all these things come under PCPNDT Act, and it is punishable with imprisonment and also fine.
Okay. Ma'am, there's a question by Nanda, Dr. Nanda. She's asking if Vanita Sahayvani is in every state.
Yes, they have got women's helpline in all the states.
Okay. Ma'am, there are few more questions, and I'm now realizing that 1.5 hours probably wasn't sufficient.
I was thinking whether I overshot my time, whether I just extended my time, which had allotted me.
Answers. We have from last half an hour we are into question answers itself. So I think we have spent a very good time in question answers. One, I think last question I would definitely like to ask, which is posed by Kajal Mishra. That parent should be teached, as very well said. As I saw many times that a child is molested by her or his relatives and even by father. And even I have read many cases recently in news that father has molested their daughters. But in that case, mother never takes side of her child and pushes them to hide from the society. Why is it so? Why they unable to see the child is feeling their emotional breakdown? How do they deal with a situation like this?
Most of the time, it is the helpless mother who is there, and a dominant father who is misusing, and they are doing that. And that is an incest. We call it as incest. When it is committed by sexual abuse, rape is committed by a close blood relative. So that is an incest condition most of the time in a drunkard, when there is alcoholic in that state, or some perversions or some opportunity. There are so many people who are really, they are sexual perverts, and also very dominating characters where even the mother has no say. Mother also is pushed to some place, and then the daughter is misused, and there is no place to go for the daughter, where to go, how to go. Even inside the house or outside the house, she will be abused. So some girls are caught in that situation, but they do not even know that. That's why the awareness. So where to go in such a situation, and whom to contact, and whom to where to get the help. All these things we really feel sorry for the real some downtrodden and who have nowhere to go, and helpless and poor people who are really suffering with this gender-based violence.
Adding to that comment, I think it's not just in those communities. Of course, the situation is very bad.
So it can happen anywhere, but we are also seeing in some rural places and lower community that abuses. But this incest problem and then misusing the children is there in any category, in a higher category also.
Domestic violence, harassment is now all pervading. It's every home you can see. Most of the places you can see this, and courage, standing up for being assertive, standing up is something I think, and being educated and educative is something that is very important. And the last question, I think Marshall Ajay, yes, has this question has already been answered. Prevention for child abuse is awareness, is teaching the child about good and bad touch, and trusting the child, engaging them in communication, etc.
Not be negative only. We have got, this may be percentage is less. If you overall percentage of this, if you take, still it is less, and many women and girls are having opportunities, getting educated, going into all fields. We want more and more girls to get educated and then come up in life and assert themselves, and then prevent all this, create awareness in the society.
Right. I think we have shot up time, and ma'am, we look forward for continued association with you. We can see a lot of appreciation pouring in for your session, and we see that there are a lot of aspects which need to be covered, and we look forward for continued association with you. Thank you so much for all the participants. I think from all over India, people have participated in this session, not just students, but faculty members and non-academicians. I see that. My heartfelt gratitude, ma'am, words are not enough to thank you for what you created through this session today. My heartfelt gratitude for humbly accepting our invitation in a very short notice and creating such a wonderful program for all of us, for all participants. That has been really amazing. Having known you has been a great thing for us this year. I also thank Geeta ma'am, Rekha ma'am from Family Association of India for having introduced you to us. I thank Dr. Rajni Jairam, under whose leadership and under whose guidance we took this up in organizing. And ma'am, though it was of a short notice, it came out very beautifully. And I thank Dr. Geeta Madhusudan ma'am for her constant, we both were in constant communication, and she has been a great support in organizing this. And I thank all the principal officers, Dr. Vasu B.A. I have already thanked Dr. Rajni Jairam for her immense support, immense leadership and mentoring for all of us, for their continued support in creating programs like this. And last but not the least, we are technologically, we are learning a lot of things, and still we need a lot of support. And there has been a great team which has been supporting us. I thank Arun sir and Sushma madam for their continued support in creating this, and providing us with all the technical support for this particular webinar. So thank you all. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Sorry, feedback link will be posted to all of you. Geeta ma'am, how much time will the participants have for completing that?
Arun sir will have to tell this. Arun sir? Arun sir?
Ma'am, 10 minutes, ma'am.
No, how long the feedback will be open, sir?
Till 12 o'clock.
Up to?
12 o'clock.
Up to 12 o'clock.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
And this session will be, we are leaving the session, or this will be kept open, sir? Till the complete
You can leave, ma'am. The panelists can leave the sessions.
Okay.
The attendees will actually fill up the feedback form and they'll also leave. Once after everybody concludes, then I'll close the session.
Okay. I think feedback form is already posted.
Yes, ma'am.
Participants.
It is already posted. I'll repost it again. I think
Yes.
it is going. I think a lot of people are thanking, so the link is moving up. So I reposted it again, the feedback form. So I request all the attendees to actually fill up the feedback form of the same.
Kindly fill up the feedback form. That will help us to generate certificates as well. Thank you so much, Arun sir. Thank you, Sushma ma'am, for your
Thank you,
great support, without which this wouldn't have been possible.
Thank you, Smita ma'am. Without your support, the entire program would not have happened in the way it has happened now. Thank you very much for your support, ma'am, Smita ma'am.
I think it's a teamwork, ma'am. My humble gratitude and thank you for such a wonderful webinar. There was a lot of learning for me, and it was a time very well spent
Yes,
with the resource person and all. Thank you. This is Dr. Smita signing off.